Here we go. Let me ask you something. Are you a tourist or are you a traveler? It's a big difference. Really big difference. So we're kind of at the height of vacation season, right? Most people continue to go to the same place they go every year. Some beach they've picked out that they've went the last 20 years. Nothing wrong with that. But it just bores the absolute living hell out of me even thinking about going to the same place time after time after time. It's 194 countries in this world, maybe off by a couple. That should keep you pretty busy. Now, my opinion, the worst three places to vacation: Panama City Beach, Las Vegas, and lo and behold, Cancun, Mexico. Any of those places, you've been there once, you've been a million times. And once they become these tourism meccas, they lose their vibe, right? They just lose their vibe. They're not authentic anymore. They all have some cool things to do, but by and large, it's the same old shit. Now, my three top places that I've been. These may not be my favorite places necessarily, but they are definitely places that I am blessed to have been able to check out. Everybody should check out, and there is nothing to really compare them to, or at least it was my experience. That would be Havana, Cuba. And I can include most of Cuba because we road tripped throughout the country. It's absolutely stunning. The people are beautiful. The people are friendly. It's almost surreal sitting down in Cuba, especially if you're a little bit of a history buff like me. I think number two would probably have to be Medellin, Colombia. Or is it Medellin? Some people say Heen, some people say Gene, but you know what I'm getting at. Beautiful, beautiful city. Ideal weather. Beautiful people. A little rough around the edges, but absolutely a million things to do there, especially if you like outdoor type adventures. The nightlife is absolutely absurd. I went when I was a little bit older, so if I'd have went when I was 20, I'd have probably ended up not coming back or in jail. I'm a little partial to Spain. Barcelona is an absolutely beautiful city. You could probably spend 2 weeks there and not run out of things to do. And the vibe there is pretty cool. A little bit bougie, I guess, but one of the most picturesque cities that you'll ever see, or that I've ever seen. You may have seen more. So let's go with Cuba, Colombia, and Spain. So I've been to probably 20 plus countries, 22 I think. I'm going to try to hit 50 before my ashes are sprinkled in parts unknown. But again, let me get back to it. Are you a traveler? Are you a tourist? So if you're a tourist, you probably do a lot of cruises. You probably do a lot of all-inclusive resorts where they tell you not to leave the resort. It's dangerous. So you spend your time on the resort, probably being served by some of the locals, drinking, eating, stuffing your face, and occasionally getting off the resort on one of these cheesy tours that takes you to all these places and tells you not to wander off. It's dangerous. That's my idea of a tourist. Nothing wrong with that if it floats your boat. I think a traveler is more of a throw caution to the wind. Just book a ticket and go with no agenda. In fact, in some cases, no place to stay until you get there. You're also more apt to just lace them up and hit the streets and find out what's happening. Go to the local market. Just walk, hit the local cafes. And kind of your agenda is formed through interactions with people on what to do, when's the best time to do it. And you'll probably meet some sidekicks along the way that will be more than happy to show you around their country. You know, it's shocking when you think about it that you can be anywhere in the world within a couple hours to a day max. And so many of us don't take advantage of that. We just sort of stuck in our ways. Now, if you've had the diagnosis of wanderlust, which I've had for about 30 years now, you could never do that. I have a terminal diagnosis of wanderlust, which is an obsession, I guess, with traveling, going to different places, and just experiencing different things, rather than that sort of blasé, book a tour, book a trip, be picked up at the airport, go to the resort, get on the boat. It's another thing I'm not going to do. I believe it or not, I've never taken a cruise, have no interest in taking a cruise. Not that it doesn't look fun. In fact, in my 20s, I probably would take one, as far as just having a good time, getting to party, all that good stuff. But being stuck on a damn boat, I don't care how nice it is, with 3,000 or 4,000 people stuffing their faces and drinking, just does not sound exciting to me at all. In fact, it sounds quite awful. Yeah, you may hit a couple of countries, hit the port, got a couple hours, wander a couple hundred yards maybe, and then get back on the boat. I don't know. Does it even count? I guess if you hit a couple countries on a cruise, I guess you've technically been there. You've definitely not experienced those countries. But yeah, you could say you've put your foot down, so I guess that counts. But as a traveler, you typically have the scars. Your scars are like passport stamps. The stories, the characters, the near misses, maybe a trip to a hospital. Just those narrow misses that have kept you on your feet. I've never got into a lot of issues or had a lot of problems traveling abroad. But I know people that have, but they've managed to sort their way through it. And in essence, that's one of the great things about traveling and getting off the beaten path, is you experience parts of those cultures you never would before. Whether it be, in my case, hitchhiking from the east coast of the Dominican Republic into Haiti. Not really hitchhiking per se, thumb out, but a mirage of buses and motorbike rides and taxi cabs and various characters and misfits. Or bouncing around the Philippines for 6 months. Or renting a Jeep with a couple of Russian guys and a couple of Norwegian girls that were staying in a hostel, and getting that Jeep stuck for 2 days in the mountains in the Dominican Republic. Luckily, we got to spend some time with a nice family who gave us a place to stay and fed us. And although we couldn't speak any Spanish, we got by. Just those interesting stories you really don't ever get when you're a tourist. Man, I remember my second night in Havana, Cuba, walking back from a bar with a couple of friends of mine. It was late. We were lost. Wasn't a lot of lights. A couple police officers stopped us and was asking some questions. I think they were kind of wanting to know if we were too drunk to be walking around at 2 in the morning. So there's a common language in the world and it's called soccer. And if you can talk it, you'll end up leaving that altercation with a couple of good friends that just happen to be police officers in Havana. But again, there's a mirage of those stories that happen when you're a traveler that you will not get if you're a tourist. So, just pick that country you've always wanted to go. In fact, go solo. I've traveled with friends, traveled with girlfriends. But probably the most interesting times I've ever had were solo. You're much more likely to meet locals and to meet individuals, be it at a cafe, a restaurant, a bar, on the metro, public transportation, much more likely to meet people that will enrich your experience when you're traveling solo. So, I think everyone should. Guys, it's safe out there. 98% of the world is hospitable. They're curious. They'll cook you a meal. They'll help you. Do not feed into, for some reason, this media obsession to where every place except the place that you live is somehow littered with landmines and inherently dangerous. It's not. So just go. So are you a traveler? Are you a tourist? If you're a tourist, start traveling more. I guess by the same token, if you're a traveler, I guess you could cool your heels at a resort for a couple of days, stuff your face, get fat. But nah, not me. But yeah, just toss that fear out, take some chances, even take some risks. You'll come back with the best stories that you can imagine. In fact, some of the stories some people will think are more likely fiction. I always said, and I've only been to 20 plus countries, but I've done a lot of traveling, done a lot of solo traveling, and I guess I've just done a lot of crazy shit. But I always said if I wrote a book about these travels, most people would think it was fiction. So there you go. Just wanted to talk briefly. We're in the middle of travel season. And so skip the beach, skip Florida, skip the cruise, skip the all-inclusive in Jamaica. For Christ's sakes, if you're going to go to Jamaica, which is one of my favorite places, I've been there 9 times, the last place you want to be is a stuffy resort. I've been from Negril to Kingston, Mobay, Ochi. There's so much more to see in Jamaica than the beach. In fact, my last 2 trips, I haven't even seen a beach. I've hiked and swim in rivers, and it's just been amazing. So be less a tourist and more of a traveler. It will be more enriching. You'll have more stories to tell, and you'll really get a sense of humanity, and it will change you in every way. It will change your worldview, will likely change your politics. But just get out there, book that ticket. If you have any questions about places I'm really familiar with, Panama, Jamaica, Cuba, parts of Europe, the Dominican Republic, maybe Colombia, Costa Rica, and even the Philippines, although it's been a while since I've been there. Shoot me a message. And I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have if you're curious about maybe going. I'm taking a small group to Panama in March. If there's anybody out there that might feel like checking that place out, let me know. We'll be okay if we keep it under 8 or 9 people. So yeah, that's a wrap. Are you a tourist? Or are you a traveler?